Morning, Bulldogs. It's May 22nd, not May 20th, as it says there, so my apologies. It's Friday. It's our last virtual instruction day before your long weekend for Memorial Day. So let's get to it so you can get through today to start enjoying the weekend. And I know it's a little noisy. I'm trying to do this outside, but it's a little noisy inside my house as well. So I'm trying my best. But today's music is Morissey. He was born this day, 1959, of Irish parents, but in England. His mother was actually a librarian and helped to foster his love for reading because he really did not like school. I included this quote of his here. The education I received was so basically evil and brutal. All I learned was to have no self-esteem and to feel ashamed without knowing why. So we've talked a bit this year about different failures that we saw in the education system and different failures others like Voltaire saw in the education system. So I thought that was interesting. But no, he still was a good reader and found his education through his books. He lives now in LA and is a big animal advocate. Does not eat meat, for example. So happy birthday, Morrissey. So today, it is May 22nd. There's two things I wanted to briefly discuss. Make sure, once again, you're filling out your timelines next week. You'll see your final assignment on your timelines. So that will be one of your final projects for the year. So in 1826, the HMS Beagle departs on its first voyage. You might know that the Beagle is the ship that Charles Darwin was on when he went to the Galapagos Islands. And we know about his theories on evolution, but it pertains to this unit because for imperialism, you may hear of something called social Darwinism, which really upends a lot of our beliefs that we supported during the Enlightenment. Social Darwinists thought that just like the strong survive in the animal kingdoms, the stronger nations, the stronger races would overtake the weaker ones. And social Darwinism is often used as a justification for very racist and awful actions. So our last assignment, when we cover some of these things were happening during the age of imperialism, you'll see the connections there. Also, because we're a STEM school, I thought it was important to include that in 1849, this is years before Lincoln was president, but he made a patent to lift boats. They were getting sort of stuck on like dams, and the idea is that on the side of boats, they'd have like these poles and they would push down like and inflate and push the boat up so that it could move over. So he's the only president to have a patent. This was never actually created. It was a bit too cumbersome, but the patent still exists, and his design, his model for it can be found in the Smithsonian Institution. Okay, so now the New York Times in 90 seconds. This is a big milestone today because the top story is not the coronavirus. This has not happened in months. Remember, like the last month or so we were in school, the top story was always the coronavirus. It was replacing the primaries and then the election that were leading the stories for a while. So this is a big deal. It's sort of related to the coronavirus, however, because it's about China. And the Chinese, actually it'd be today, Congress, like their national party, remember it's a communist nation, is meeting. That's their leader there in the center. And the Chinese are admitting that they're facing challenges, but they're showing strength. And so what some of the changes they made is said, okay, the economic gains we wanted to make for 2021, we need to adjust those because that's not going to be realistic. But another big decision they made is if we learned a little bit about those protests in Hong Kong, those pro-democracy protests, they're like, no, we're going to like squash on them. We're going to be tougher on them. So because of that, Trump may face tough decisions about his ties with the leader of China, where he's put down China a lot as in terms of the coronavirus, but yet he still has a good working relationship with him. And with our country being pro-democratic, right, we think that they may put some sanctions on China if they continue to be harsh on these Hong Kong protests, and then what will we do about it? And then lastly, of course, Memorial Day will look different this year. That's not a surprise. That picture is on the New York Times from Sandy Hook, New Jersey. All right, so same thing for the BBC News. The coronavirus was not really the leading story going into it. Their top story was an unfortunate story about an airplane that has gone down in Pakistan, in Karachi, in a residential area right outside the airport. And it's believed that 91 people have unfortunately lost their lives from that. Also, the man who filmed the death of the black jogger in the United States, Mr. Arbery, you see here to the left. We talked about this on one or two of the earlier videos, so hopefully you know of this story. But now he is charged with murder and another thing as well. Supposedly he tried to get in Mr. Arbery's way as he was running, and then we know he was filming it and wasn't really assisting what was going on. So months later, but hopefully the justice system is finally working here. And then related to the coronavirus, Brazil, that should be hits, not hots. It's really hard when I have to do these all in the morning. You know, it's not like a project where I get to proofread it here. 20,000 deaths as the virus spreads throughout the region. So now we will turn to Brazil and hope that they recover as well. So look, got this done in under 90 seconds. Okay, so today you are going to be doing an assignment on Memorial Day. So there's two things you need to still do for imperialism. I'm going to try to combine them into one unit next week, or one lesson next week. I thought it was really important to pause and spend time for Memorial Day. So it will be a flip grid, and just reflecting a little bit on what Memorial Day means to you, which is one of the points you can make in your flip grid. You can listen. I shared an example from my end, and I mentioned my grandfather's brother who died in World War I. So this picture above is a picture of him with two of his brothers and one of his sister. There were many more children. Which he is in. And then over here is his registration card to actually join the military. So sort of, eerie in a way, knowing that this is what he had to do to ultimately lead to his death. So you see his birthday was August 7th of 1900, and at just the age of 18, he signed up to join the Navy in World War I. So I tell you about his story in my flip grid. This is another story. This was my great-grandmother's brother, who was gassed in World War I. And he did survive, but his injuries were so bad from being gassed, he was sent home because of it, and then died shortly thereafter. So this is his registration card as well. You see they're both from Bayonne, New Jersey. So also, so today I'm wearing my Iwo Jima hat. That's the charity group that I run for at times to raise money for veterans of Iwo Jima so that they can go there, and also so others can learn about it. And also my West Point sweatshirt, because these are all people that I went to school with at West Point who perished making the ultimate sacrifice in either Iraq or Afghanistan. So Eric Palawota, who was a captain, he was actually also a track captain when I ran track there. He was a thrower. So I know some of you guys are throwers on the track team, and you can relate a little bit. He was a bit older. And the rest of them are all people who were in my class. I did not know all of them well, some more than others. One I was in the Cadet Catholic Choir with. One was in my company. One I was in a math class with, and we were both not really strong in math. That's an engineering school, but you guys know I'm more of a humanities person. So we sort of had to stick together and learn math together, right? So these are people that I'll be thinking about on Memorial Day over this weekend. And I encourage you to think a little bit about Memorial Day as well. This image is of Southern Regional High School. This is where I went to high school. This is where my father now teaches high school. It's a big school like ours with 4,000 students. And it's on Route 9. And every year for Memorial Day, a student every student places a flag outside. And so you have like 4,000 flags. And actually, I think they try to make the numbers equal the amount of deaths that we've suffered in Iraq and Afghanistan. So it's a very powerful image. It's powerful for the student to be part of it, and then powerful to see it and just see how many people we've lost. And one of your options for this Flipgrid is to think about, what could we do as a school when we return next year for Memorial Day, but also what can you still do in the meantime. I just saw an article today of people that are still finding ways to socially distance but place flags on graves of veterans in local towns. So the Flipgrid gives you the directions. Please read the directions. I've had some people posting really nice videos, but they don't really address the points. Like, it's great. I do want to hear about, family members who are serving. That's important. But I want to make sure you know the difference between Memorial Day and Veterans Day. Veterans Day honors those who served. Memorial Day honors those who made the ultimate sacrifice and died in war. And it's a very important difference that I want you guys to know. So as you open the document, there's 5 bullet points, and as you see on your standard grading scale, you want to try to hit at least 4 of those bullet points. So something that maybe we can do as a school next year, something that you can do to honor the holiday. So like if you're going to say like I'm going to have a barbecue with my family, that's great. That's a great way to enjoy your weekend. But what are you doing to honor the holiday, right? Can you find articles on what people are doing for Memorial Day, right? I just said there's an article in the New York Times about Memorial Day being different this year. Maybe look there and seeing how is it going to be different this year. What does the holiday mean to you? And then if you know a story of someone who died in war, hopefully you don't know anyone who died in war. And if you don't, go online and you can find stories of people that did. It's not hard to find stories like that. If you have trouble, email me. I'll respond today. And let you know. I also have your Flipgrid codes there. I blocked them out in case any strangers watch this so they don't creep on our Flipgrid videos. And please note that if you want to try to max out at a 4, you also want to respond to something that a classmate said. If you're the first person to respond, you can respond to my Flipgrid video. Okay, so I hope everyone has a great long weekend. I hope you take some time to reflect on this holiday. Be ready to go strong next week for our assignment on imperialism. It will be our literature one. Ooh, there's a goldfinch out here. I wish I could show it to you guys. It's really yellow. Wow. Maybe that's a good sign for us all for the weekend. But I miss you guys. I'm super proud of your work. You're doing an excellent job overcoming everything you have to do through this virus. And be safe, be well.